Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Wednesday. It's December the 3rd. This will be our chart lesson for today. And really, the trend from yesterday just continued into today. Early on, all you really had to work off of was this tight channel working up here. And notice we had the break, the move to a new high, then we had the correction, and then we took off again. And generally, what you'll find um, is that there's a bigger pattern. And of course, you couldn't find this bigger pattern until a little later in the day. Once you had this line right here, you just drag it down and it fits here, and you see we bounced exactly right there. So that's what I was looking for, a bounce here. And then, of course, there's a midline in the middle there. And this might be just a little higher, maybe like so. Might even be up here. And this might be a little higher like so. But either way, you see the two tiers there. But this first channel here would get you pretty much to where you needed to be. But understanding when this was going to correct might have been a little bit difficult without this lower line. But you can see it broke lower here, reversed, and turned up. I mean, just go long right there. And it took it a little while. There's some strong resistance right here, and you can see it's kind of acting as support and resistance across there. And it gave you a nice little long here as well. So after that little failed break lower. But let's talk about the trade. It's going to be pretty quick today. I'm doing this a little earlier than what I've been doing the last few days. But I've got some other business I got to take care of. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and get trading related stuff completed for today. But the first trade I saw was right here. Notice there's a new high there, pullback, first entry, pullback. It's a second entry long, but the biggest thing is the failed second entry short. Notice the new low, first entry, pullback, and then it's a failed second entry short. And if you drew that trend line up through there, you can see it's a perfect bounce off of it. So I like that for the long side. It didn't take off instantly. You might have even thought about using a limit order there, and you could have gotten filled a tick or two back into this bar right here. So that opportunity was there if you took advantage of it. But you just never know on those traps. Sometimes they take off like this one did, and you don't get another chance to enter. But easy scalp, comes back, and then you get a little, notice how it tries to go low once, pulls back and tries to go lower. It breaks lower, fails, turns out the top. Again, you might have thought about a limit order because it's not a very pretty bar here, but the way this thing's set up, it makes it okay. I liked it for going long. It is a little close to this high, so if you wanted to use a limit order, I think you could have gotten filled a tick, maybe two ticks back into that bar, and then it takes off. Then you get the correction. We kind of overshot the channel here. I wasn't sure at that point if maybe there wasn't a two-tiered channel here, but it corrects. You get the break, move to a new low, and then it's headed up again. And you overshot it here, so you get the break on this side. And a lot of times, just remember, if you overshoot a channel, it could mean a couple of things. It could mean that this is a midline and there's another, the channel line is up higher, or it could mean that you're going to get a break out the other side, and that's what happened. So notice this is a double top, so you can count this as a first entry or a second. It was a little tempting to go long right there because if you were using this one, you could have used it as consider this a second entry. But I think it's a little bit dangerous, the fact that the EMA didn't hold right there. You've got this channel working down. It's the first break. You're usually going to get another push lower. That's the main reason, is the little channel working down. If you use those highs across there, that's the first break of it. So going long, there's a good chance it's going to pull back and attempt to get that new low, which it does, and then it turns up. So I liked going long there. I kind of went back and forth about this one being green. It's a little aggressive. But notice those matching lows and that little one tick failure, and this almost closes on its high. This thing's probably running to a new high, at least up to test the previous double top, and it kind of gets hung up there. And then you get notice that high, pull back. That high is higher than this one, so your count starts over, pull back, first entry, pull back. When it broke higher here, that's a second entry, and it does move to a new high. So now you've got your break, and you got two legs up to a new high. So that made this one a little more questionable, especially being that close to the last high. But notice that low, first entry short, pull back, second entry short. There's really another little push lower right there, but you can almost ignore that one. On a bigger picture, there's still two legs up and a failed second entry short. But that was another reason to like that one too, because it is a little failed second entry short. Um, but then you get the same thing again here. And this is also considered a breakout pullback long. I liked it, but it's a little aggressive, and it's not a perfect setup. You've already got two legs up to a new high, but you don't have a very convincing new high there. And so they're going to probably try it a few more times, and you can see, and that's generally how a reversal pattern will look. You'll get that. There's actually a short right there, too, that I didn't mark. I'm going to make it green because it's not a very good setup, but there's a trap there, and you can't ignore that. And and it broke higher, but it didn't go out the bottom at the same time, which I would have liked better, but it still turned out to be a really good trade. Notice the break, two legs up, and then it tried to, this is like a double test rule, and it failed second entry long. Notice that new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and that's a fairly bullish bar. I mean, it's tempting to think about long, but you got to notice the break and all the pushes up and how it's failing to go higher. So I don't think you want to go long there. You probably just want to sit and see what happens, but you get a failure and a chance to go short. And that's the only short I marked today. And I was afraid this was only a temporary one because generally you're going to have a bigger pattern than that. And of course, it did turn out we had a bigger pattern. And you could have drawn this line off these highs up here and drug it down and caught this bounce right here. You just want to stay out of this right here. It's just kind of sideways action. Nothing much happening there. Too much overlap, too many dojis, and that's generally if you're a premium member and you see our midday chart. This turned out to be exactly what I described this morning. My thoughts were that when we made the new high on this, that we would probably have a little trading range that would last as a correction, and then we might have a bigger pattern and continue higher, and that's exactly what happened. But that was kind of it's kind of the MO. The ES is famous for that kind of stuff, so it didn't surprise me at all when it ended up that way. And but generally, and that's, some people get confused about that, but generally your correction after a break of a trend and a new high is about a minimum of an hour. And this started at a little after 10 o'clock and ended a little before noon. So that's about an hour and a half. And notice what it did. It created a little trap there right before it took off. Move this out of the way. It broke lower. And then had a little inside bar, and it broke lower than that, and it turned and reversed and instantly went out the upper side. Just have a stop waiting right there. And if you didn't there, definitely put one above that bar. And that was a nice, easy move. Any runners were safe. Notice it tried to come back again. And this is the second entry long. It found some resistance here, but notice pullback, first entry, pullback, second entry, and there's a little double bottom there. It was close. I mean, it was right into this resistance here, but I felt pretty confident at that point that we're going higher. And, if you understand what's happening here and you see the big picture, if you don't see the big picture, then this would be green, or maybe you wouldn't want to take it at all. But if you see the big picture, it's really hard to ignore that one. And then notice you get another little resistance. You're still fighting to get through this area. And again, this is almost a repeat pattern. You get that little one tick lower, and then it turns and goes higher. This looks very similar to down here. It looks very similar to this one. It even looks like this one, just a smaller version. And it's kind of a repeat pattern. And look, that's turned out to be the trade of the day. And all the binds come back in right there. And that's it. There hadn't been anything else. It's been straight up since then. Let's draw our short term. Oops. Our little short term trend channel here. That will alert you to when this thing is likely over. Notice we hadn't had a break of that yet. It's just straight up. So nice move there. And you might want to look before the day is over. Although there's not a whole lot of time. You know, you may, I'd be looking for a measured move similar to that. So that would put prices moving to, oh, well, we're real close. We're within a tick or two of that measured move right now, which is 20.76.75, and so we're about 3 ticks away from a perfect measured move at this point. So, but that's what I would have been shooting for. We'll probably get a little pullback and then one more push up or something. So, I mean, we could turn around and sell straight off, but that would be what I would expect. We're probably going to hit that, and maybe even surpass it. It just depends on, you know, how the prices react over the next 30 minutes. So, because that's all we've got is about 35 minutes left in the trading day. But that's what I saw today. Another good trading day. You had to just kind of wait this out. And there were several good entries on the way up. And then this afternoon, late morning, early afternoon, there's been a couple more really good setups here. And this one is like real borderline um, being able to be blue. Notice this was resistance, and it is acting as support now. Notice here it couldn't quite hold as support. Here it did. So a little bit of a slight difference, and you know, those are just subtle things that people may not notice that are important. So make sure you study that. And that's something I hadn't said this in a long time, and since we're a little bit early today getting done, I'll say this, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. But the way you get better is not by coming in here and trading every day. The way you get better is by trading, and then at the end of the day, studying the chart and studying your work and noticing all these little nuances that I talk about, like the little one tick traps and how this is, even though prices are getting above here, they're not really acting as support. It's not holding, and then here it does hold. But that's how you get better. Trading itself does not really make you that much better. It's studying your trades and the chart itself at the end of the day. That's where the real work and the real improvement and progress in trading comes from. So much of what we do is mental. And I've got another trader. He sent me some stuff where it's some interesting stuff on the mental aspect of trading. And there's some stuff on the website. I don't go into it a lot, but understand that it is important. It's an important part of what we do, and it's more important than most people will ever understand. But I'm going to read through this stuff he sent me, and if there's anything that I think will be helpful, I'll share that. I haven't had a chance to really digest it yet, but it's some good stuff. He's always sending me some good stuff on the mental aspects of trading, and he gets it. I mean, a lot of people will think some of this stuff is kind of corny, but I'll be honest, it's the key to it in a lot of cases. So, I mean, you can you can understand what we do down to a perfect science, but if you don't have the mental aptitude to be able to force yourself to sit tight when you're waiting on this correction, and so much of that part of it's mental, by being patient, being able to sit for long periods without trading, being able to take a trade after you already made a mistake, or being able to come back from being down. Those things are all mental. And that's why what usually happens to traders, they start off, they have a bad day, and the day just gets worse because they get mad. They start trying to get back at the market. And I know you're probably thinking, some of you may be watching today, that's exactly what happened to me. I had a loser and I tried to get it back, and all I did was end up giving them more and more. And that's all mental. Even if you don't understand that, that's mental. And so much of what we do in day trading is just mental. Trading is so, it just takes, you have to be very disciplined to follow the rules precisely, even after a mistake. And you have to be, the problem I have is that I get overconfident. I'm wrong so seldom that when I am wrong, sometimes I don't want to admit it. And my problem is that I don't have very many losers, but if I'm not careful, I'll let one loser take back a half a dozen trades, and that's the struggle I've always had to deal with because I picked this up pretty quickly. I think compared to most people, I had a good understanding of it. But the mental aspect of it still tripped me up. It took me maybe a year to get over the mental aspect, even after I understood price action. So I'll get emails from people that say, I've been trading for 6 months and I'm not any better today than I was. Well, listen, if you've only been trading 6 months or doing this 6 months, you're in kindergarten. And I mean that sincerely. That's nothing. It takes years. This is, liken what we do here to trying to be a medical doctor or a lawyer. Nobody learns those professions in a 6 months or even a year or two. You have to get an undergraduate degree, then you have to get then you have to go to medical school, then you got to do your internship. If you're going to be a lawyer, you got to go to undergraduate, you got to get your law degree, then you got to get out and practice and get experience. And those things take 8 to 10 to 15 years or longer to reach their pinnacle. And trading is no different. If it was easy, everybody would be millionaires trading. So understand it's not that easy. It's, just because you've been at it for even a year or two, that may be nothing. So be prepared for a long, drawn out battle of ups and downs, and that just takes too much of a mental toll on a lot of people. So don't be that person that gives up because it took a mental toll on you. Understand that that's part of the process, and just keep plugging away and hang in there. And if you have a bad day, if you need to take a day or two off, take it off and think about it. But I can remember having horrible days and thinking I got to throw the towel in. And then within an hour of going back and studying my chart, I could clearly see every mistake I made. And I'm like, I can see it now. See, I just made a mistake, a simple mistake. And if I don't ever do that again, I'm one step closer. And the next day, I'm right back at it. And that's what it takes to be successful at this. Brush it off if you have a bad day. Figure out that's the key, though. Going back to where I originally started with this, the key is study your work, because that's how you get better. Figure out what you did wrong. If you just quit trading at the end of the day because you blew up and had a bunch of losers, you didn't learn anything. Go back and figure out what you did wrong. It'll be so clear in a lot of cases. You'll say, oh yeah, why didn't I notice that? But there's so much to notice and pick up on that it just takes a while. You got to keep plugging away and keep working at it and keep adding more to the elevator that's going to the top, where one day you'll be successful. You can't get it all up there, in your brain in one or two tries. It takes lots of trips, so to speak. And so just keep plugging away, keep making those trips up the elevator, and eventually you'll get it all up there, and it'll click one day for you. So, and even then, it doesn't mean you won't make mental mistakes, but you'll learn to overcome them, and you'll learn not to let them defeat you in the long run. And that's the real key. So, going to wrap it up. This is Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.